It's been a while since I did this, but I was feeling very creative. So I said, you know what? I want to do an episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Let's do this. So let's see if I still remember how we put this show together.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Wrealm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show, of course, is brought to you by the Wrestling Wrealm. Yeah, it's been a while, but guess what? I said, you know what? I want to do an episode. This is episode number 233 of Break It Down with Brian H. This is also in our countdown to a total of 500 episodes. Let me go ahead. Actually, you know what? We're gonna switch that up because I went through and did some counting. Come to find out, there's more than 233 episodes. So that's because there's specialty episodes and stuff. So we're gonna jump the shark. This would be episode 254 because I wasn't counting the pay-per-views, the interviews. So like traditional episodes. So scratch that. Going to update all my systems to reflect. So officially episode 255. Break It Down with Brian H. As you can see, I've been real busy in the past few years. Um, creating content, getting ready, and then this year, because full transparency. Let me tell y'all, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. The reason why you haven't been seeing a lot of Break It Down with Brian H is because simply I've been getting my wrestling fix every Wednesday on the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. Shout out to my brothers, the real Dwayne Allen and brother Hugh. Consistency is king. So we do a show every week, and that's the thing that I love because we get a chance to cut up and I get a chance to act a fool with my brothers. And let's see. Do I have that clip in here? Oh man, I can't. I don't. I'll play. I'm trying to think. I'm looking for something. I know. Uh, I should have had this all together, but yeah, here we go. So, but yeah, y'all know we got new merch coming out. Should be dropping very soon. I leave that into the real Dwayne Allen's hands because if I try
Oh,
it,
Steve, that's for somebody else, baby.
it's just that simple. But before I get into today's show, I just want to show you some of the shenanigery you can catch.
I'm not gonna lie. Man, forget this our show. I got aroused. I ain't gonna straight up.
First last week the picture.
I'm just saying.
Hey,
It turned me on. Boy, my nipples can cut some glass off this mug. I was like, oh my God.
Man,
Hey, oh man.
thanks, Justin.
I can't get my words together.
Oh my goodness. Where did this show just go?
Hey, I wasn't expecting that, yo. That just
So the real Dwayne Allen designs things that make Brother Hugh get aroused.
wow, man.
That
I
is
don't know
it.
if that supposed to be a compliment. Like,
So that was from last week's episode. That's the type of stuff, that you can catch with me and my brothers when we sitting up there and we come together and them dudes act a fool. So make sure y'all check out the Wrestling Realm Now podcast each and every Wednesday night right here on the Wrestling Realm networks. You can catch it live. That's the best way to catch it. Like, of course, I love everybody who listens to the podcast. Some people we do go late, 10:35. I love that. I love people who watch it back on YouTube, especially. You know, we try and drive them numbers up. We try and get monetized. I'm gonna be real with y'all. And but I really love when you tune in live. You know, shout out to our regulars. You know, shout out to Justin. Shout out to Stephen Michael. Shout out to Taquan. Shout out Matt Reichel. Um, shout out to Brother Raj. And shout out to Brother Fam. Shout out to those wrestling girls. You know, everybody who comes in each and every week, we appreciate you. So, you know, taking care house keeping things. We want to make sure y'all know. Go to WrestlingWrealm.com. There's a promo code. If you see there's a banner. So make sure y'all go there. Right now, there is a opportunity to get you know, $6 off. So you go there, you'll see. And you know, coming up, we made the announcement on and they'll post it on their social media soon, but I will be in the building for those wrestling girls upcoming celebration as they will celebrate 4 years. 4 years. Congratulations to my family, Queen PR, to Krista B. Anybody knows it's not easy podcasting. And to do it for 4 years, you know, most people don't get past 5 shows. Do y'all know the amount of people that I talked to that said they're starting a podcast, right? And then they do their podcast. And then once they do their podcast, they never continue. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be real. I've done so many consultations for free, and the people don't even continue. But these ladies will be celebrating 4 years, and there will be a women's panel, which they just announced today. It's a recording on Friday. They just announced a good friend of ours, Janelle from HR. Shout out to the Job of Tears podcast. We was just there a couple weeks ago. But she's going to be on a panel. Candace Cordelia is going to be on a panel. Candace was just on. She was on the NABJ special that I had in 2020 in one of the 255 episodes of Break It Down with Brian H. So there are more panelists to be announced, so make sure y'all check that out. Of course, there's going to be food, drinks, and a party. Tickets only $20. So make sure y'all get y'all tickets. But we are proud sponsors of that event. First time Wrestling Wrealm has sponsored an event, and I'm really, really excited about it. So, folks, also, just some things I've been doing this week. Make sure you catch me on MackMania podcast each and every Tuesday on the Ringer Wrestling Show. Took a lot of heat because I talked about Baltimore being a wrestling town. And guess what? This is my show, right? So I could do what I want. I can do it how I want, when I want, the way I want. It's just that simple. All right. Right, brother. All right, so we're gonna we'll give y'all a quick preview of, if I can find it. Just something, quick conversation we had on MackMania. No, matter of fact, we're gonna do this one right here. So y'all know I went to Raw Monday night, and I had a good time. You know, I had the opportunity to be on the front row and see D-Generation X. And man, what a time that was. Now, I ain't gonna talk about it too much because I'm gonna just play this clip. And if you know me, you know this ain't normal. But as soon as it's finished processing, I like that I'm driving this show by the seat of my pants. Because usually, you know, I got the Titan rundown, and I do, but you know, I kind of switched up some days. So here's a clip from the MackMania podcast.
Obviously, just DX, you know, being in the house, like, you know, I mean, we grew up DX fans, or not like a DX or whatever, but like, I
was an NWO guy, but I appreciate them now. I appreciate them now.
Yeah, I like both, so I didn't do the whole back then, you know, the either or.
I didn't either. I know what you're saying.
I yelled to the ring, y'all got me in trouble. So, when Shawn Michaels said, we out here the next 20 years for the side miseries, that was hilarious. And I'll say this on the show.
Go ahead. It's
I
you
wanted,
were well within your right. Whoa, 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 whoa.
You just realized what I said.
Wait a minute. See, has it's well. If this is I almost just let him get by. I was about to move to the next segment, and then my brain was.
So that is from the MackMania podcast. Make sure you check that out to hear exactly what I said. That's on all social media platforms. On all social media. All the Ring of Wrestling Network. So make sure you check out that. Hashtag that's my shoot job. Producing that show. So it's a really cool thing to do each and every week. So make sure you check me out there. And then of course this past weekend, this past Wednesday, right before the Wrestling Wrealm Now podcast, I was on TWG Fan Club, Those Wrestling Girls Fan Club, which is hosted by Queen PR every Wednesday. And I was with a good friend of everyone, Justin Rich, who I mentioned, one of the regulars in the Wrestling Wrealm comments, and with Miss Ciendo, who was recently on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, my other podcast. So yeah, make sure you check that out on Twitch every Wednesday. So it's a lot of wrestling content out there for you. You can check that out before you get on, before AEW, watch AEW, and then come on over to the Wrestling Wrealm, and we got you covered. Now, I ain't gonna make no promises that we gonna cover AEW every week. I ain't gonna sit up here and be like, "Oh yeah, we got you." Maybe, maybe not, but nonetheless, let's see, where is it? Because I'm gonna run another clip for you before we get into this conversation. But the reason why I said you should check out Breaking Through Glass Ceilings is because, oh man, I can't run it. The file is too big. Well, no, I can run this one. Because it's still. So, I mentioned those wrestling girls. I mentioned their upcoming party, but recently on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, I had Krista B on the show. So season 5, was it? No, I'm in season 5. Season 4. It's been very, very, very fun. It's been a lot of changes. I made some changes to the graphics because I got hair now, and I was like, my hair's locked. But I also wanted to change it up because we got merch. Show is brought to you by foryourwear.com, where you can get Breaking Through Glass Ceilings merch. I know I'm trying to get all that merchandise. But look, we got to wear clothes. Might as well wear clothes of people we know, Get a Wrestling Wrealm t-shirt, WrestlingWrealm.com. Get the Proud Wrestling Fan shirt, anything. Let's go ahead while I'm doing it. Throw up that graphic. All those shirts right there. DX style shirt, Wrestling Wrealm 10th anniversary shirt, Wrestling Wrealm Now shirt, Wrestling Wrealm hoodie, Wrestling for the Culture. All these shirts are available. And what does that mean? It means, you got to wear clothes. But here's a quick clip before we get into today's show.
I want to be my authentic self, which is fun, bubbly, loud, funny. Like all these things that people know of me. And I want to bring that into a hosting space. And my best friend, for my very first time hosting, my best friend was just like, I was like, yo, I'm so nervous. Like, he goes, why are you nervous? I'm like, because I don't know what the setting is. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. I don't understand there. He was like, why are you nervous? Like, just be you. I said, well, can I curse? He was like, yes. I said, all right, cool. Long as he gave me that okay, I could curse. I mean, I probably only said one curse word throughout the night, but it calmed.
So make sure y'all check that out. And again, support Krista B and Queen PR, those wrestling girls, at the TWG 4th anniversary. But the night before the 4th anniversary, I have to go up to New York. Yes, I'm going there the night before. So I'll be in there for that weekend. And that's because I have to address somebody by the name of Jay Bougie. And in case you missed it, couple year. Wow, what a year this has been. Me and Mr. Bougie. Uh, it had nothing to do with me. I was just had my ring light on, and I was invited to the live. I turned it on to watch, and his former partner, PJ Savage, decided to pull me in. He decided to pull me in, and then told me, "You know what, Brian H, you wearing ring lights, and they was bashing ring lights, and it wasn't good because the Reverend Ron T. Hunt had a ring light, and because I didn't side with Crocs, PJ invited me to be the special guest referee for the Bodega Street fight. Well, nonetheless, they won. Jay Bougie won after he, had his former buddies come in there and attack the Reverend Ron. Now we're dealing with a situation here because he's at We Are Wrestling in his hometown of the Bronx. So let's run this real quick. Well, listen. I'm already going to be in New York on November 5th for those Wrestler Girls anniversary. Shout out to them. Make sure y'all get y'all tickets. $20. If you get them before the 15th, I believe, or you check it at T Wrestling Girls, you get a discount. You can get them cheaper for $15.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'm going to set my hotel a day early. I'm coming.
Come on.
November 4th.
Come on, listen.
You think I ruined your night before?
Why?
I'm gonna be up there,
Why?
Like
and I'm gonna
that,
just
B?
be in the crowd. I'm gonna be just
Why?
chilling. So I'm gonna be there. Like I said, I'm gonna be chilling. We're gonna find out. I'll be there at We Are Wrestling. Can Jay Bougie get the win? He's 2-0 when I'm in the building. That's all I'm saying. He's 2-0. So Jay Bougie. I'm just coming to watch a good match. You missed the 485. I want to see the person who's on the same list with my favorite wrestlers. But if we go ahead, let's get ready to start the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I wanted to talk about today was Seth freaking Rollins. Seth Rollins has been doing some of his best work, and yet he wasn't scoring a lot of wins this year. Now, wins and losses, do they matter? That's left up to you. It was disappointing that when you looked at the match card and you had to obligate a sponsor, I might use that terminology wrong, but whatever. It was disappointing that his match had to be the one that was cut. But nonetheless, it's all good. The Rollins match was cut from SummerSlam, but could have sink or swim. And quite frankly, I believe he swam. Him and Riddle had a match. He won it at Clash of the Castle. Now he fell to him at Extreme Rules in the main event, but that's the key. Seth Rollins is in the main event. He's one of the most entertaining people. Every time he comes out there, I know I'm entertained, and I'm always excited. You hear that music go, and I'm not gonna play it. I've already played DX music. Hopefully, won't get popped by YouTube. But I'm like, this is pretty dope. You seeing what he's been doing. He had a sit down with Ariel Helwani, talking about he was never the guy. Even when he had the Heist of the Century, which I believe was one of the greatest cash-ins of all time, he felt, he was holding it for Roman. And you could say that, but I would say this: that might have been the thing from corporate and the powers that be, but I think the fans, bought in. He was the number one heel. And then, him and Brock, especially stealing the title from Brock Lesnar. I think he was the number one heel. So I am really excited about him winning the United States Championship. I love how he beat Bobby because he got a clean win, but was it clean if Bobby was hurt, right? So Bobby's protected. Seth Rollins didn't, gets the win, and then he stands up on the announce table and just directs the crowd. See my social media. I got footage at Brian H. Waters on TikTok. Yeah, I'm on TikTok and on Instagram. So I was excited about that. I think it's really cool to see where he's going from here to see what just to see what's going to happen, right? I'm really excited to see the matches he's going to have. And when you're looking at the way the championships are being presented now, they're still with top guys. Gunther's the top guy, but Gunther's reminding me of like Ultimate Warrior 90s, right? Where he's the Intercontinental Champion, but he could easily be the heavyweight champion. Seth Rollins is like Sting, when Sting had already been multiple time world champion, but he's the United States champion. So that right there makes the championship important. Going back and forth with him and Bobby, I think that's important. And Bobby's a top guy. Seth Rollins is a top guy. So all of this is great. I think it's great for the business and it's great for the championships. I don't think any more titles are needed. Now, when you get a chance, check out one, you subscribe to our Patreon. Um, I got exclusive content on there, and we make it. We got different tiers. $1 for $1 for pretty much any of my thoughts, my articles. $10 for early access. $5 for exclusive Patreon code, free shipping. But I recently did one on the mid card championship. Raquel Rodriguez talked about the possibility of a mid card championship. So I said, why not? So I gave my thoughts. I booked it completely different than most people would, you know. So make sure y'all check that out. Um yeah, so make sure y'all check that out. Like I said, subscribe to the Patreon, Wrestling Realm. Patreon.com/wrestling_realm. Make sure you put in an underscore. Or if you go on Patreon, search Wrestling Realm, boom. But to the ones out there who subscribe, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your support for the show. And so I was going to do this on Patreon, but I said no, because there was a lot of other stuff I wanted to talk about. So I said, well, let's do a break it down with Brian H. But yeah, Seth Rollins, I would love to see where they go with this. Remember, he's the last guy to beat Roman Reigns on pay-per-view. Even though it was disqualification, he still has the W in the column. He reminded us that at the access panels that he beat Roman and he beat Brock. So this was before Roman Brock's match, the day of, but he had incredible matches with Cody Rhodes. That series of matches, you're gonna remember the matches more than you're gonna remember, the winner. And not to say you won't remember the winner, but you can appreciate those matches. It's just like certain things, right? Recently this week we celebrated Bret Hart winning the WWF championship for the first time. And you look at Bret in 92 was just on a different level, right? Um, he was on a different level because he won the Intercontinental Championship for the second time against Roddy Piper. Then because the first time he lost it, like he won it from Perfect, then he lost it to the Mountie. The Mountie was a transitional champion to get the Piper. Piper loses it to Bret at WrestleMania 8. Incredible match. Then he goes to SummerSlam. He loses it to Bulldog in the main event. Nobody talks about the fact that Bret, who lost the title and was, oh no, he was buried. No, you when you talk about him losing, you only talk about him losing because Bulldog was at home. But the match was the main event of the show. It was great, and it gave us, that's one of my favorite matches. I probably watched it like 20, 40, 50 times. I did try to do a watch along, but I did it wrong. So, as soon as I uploaded copyright, because I was like, the audio, right? But no. WWE and YouTube said nope. So therefore, sorry, the phone is always jumping. Therefore, there's no couldn't I couldn't have that one. But we'll have a discussion about it. No way I'm rebooking that anyway. I think that Brett should have went over. I mean, I think Davey should have went over, especially in his hometown. And in fact, he should have went over with the European Championship years later. But it got us to the moment: Bret Hart versus the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And I'm take you back. I can remember. I don't remember watching the match live because I don't even know if it was on TV live. But I remember going over my grandmother's house and going to my uncle's room. My uncle Troy, shout out to him, he just celebrated a birthday this week. Going to celebrate his birthday tomorrow. But I can remember going over the house, and it was over the house, and I think I was getting ready to get my hair cut. I was in his room, and he showed me, like he used to always do, show me wrestling. So he showed me the match. I was like, "Oh wow!" Like Brett really like, Brett is the champion because and funny thing is, the same TV is what I remember him showing me when Ric Flair won the belt back from Macho Man, and which served as transitional champion. But Brett wins the title, and we're on the Survivor Series where he would defend it against Shawn Michaels, their first time wrestling against each other, and that wasn't even the main event. But Brett, I thought had a solid run. Obviously I'm looking at it now. Before, and see the difference with him was because he was reprogramming the audience. And then I remember the discussion, man, Brett, are you defending the championship too much? Brett, you defended the title too much. Whatever. But he wanted to be a fighting champion. He was defending against Papa Shango, defending against Fatu, and whoever. And ultimately Razor Ramon. He got, Razor Ramon in the match at WrestleMania. I mean, it's Royal Rumble '93, and that was that was like the first pay-per-view I ever rented from the store. First wrestling tape, Earl's Videos, and so what a moment that was. For me growing up, but also just to see that match finally. Back then I would watch all the matches. Now, I'm be honest with you, this is how I watch wrestling. I go through it, and then I will skip. I mean, like I've seen all the matches, right? Because they give us rematch after rematch after rematch. So I'll go through it and I'm like, all right, seen this, kept it going, keep it moving, keep it moving. So, but shout out to Bret Hart celebrating 30 years since he won his first championship. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
To all you haters, I'm talking to you, Flobo. All right, let's talk about the Bloodline. Shout out to the Bloodline, man. Just keep doing big things. I'm interested to see what's going to happen on SmackDown this Friday night because Sami Zayn lost, and he wasn't supposed to. Roman and Solo went to Manhattan to go party, and Jay Uso was told, make sure Sami Zayn don't lose. But this story just keeps getting better and better. You went from Roman Reigns turning heel, then Jey Uso becoming the number one contender for Roman Reigns Universal Championship, which then led to Roman telling Jey, "You need to acknowledge me as the tribal chief, and I'm the one who makes sure this family eats and family is taken care of." That's a heavy responsibility in the culture. Then that led to Roman and Jay having a series of matches. Jimmy trying to get him to stop, help him understand. And I mean, just a beautiful story told. Then Jimmy finally is right. He comes back. Him and Roman can't get on the same page. Jay is confused. Then he leaves, makes them get on the same page. Finally, the Usos win the tag titles. Now the Usos and Roman Reigns are dominating. Oh, now Roman's going to try to become the undisputed champion. He's got to deal with Brock Lesnar. Finally does that. And now the Usos and Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, have all the championships. And then Sami Zayn comes along. He wants to be a part of it. He feels like, yeah, I could be the honorary member. And then here comes Solo Sikoa, and Solo. He's, he does what he does the honors right away. He acknowledges the tribal chief. Looks like Sami Zayn's going to get kicked out. Nope, he gets the honorary Us shirt. This is fun. This has been great to watch, and I can't wait to see how far they go with this. I think it's like the best storyline. I think the Bloodline is the best thing going in professional wrestling today. That is why I have to make sure, like every time they're on, I'm tuning in because it's great stuff. It's really great stuff. So, shout out to them. I'm interested to see where we go with war games because the bloodline has to be in the war games, right? It's the reason, like it's the new regime, it's everything new, so we have to see what they're going to do with the bloodline. Um, so that's what I'm interested to see what happens. And I think I've mentioned this before. Keep the championship on Roman Reigns, no doubt about it, because he is the best thing going in wrestling today. So moving on, now we want to discuss the elephant in the room. It ain't really an elephant in the room because I mean, what's left to be said. I was online this week and I saw an interview with Swerve talking about the Black Wrestling list. And this is all I'm gonna say about this. Shout out to Black Wrestling. Make sure y'all check out my interview with them. Every year, it's an annual thing. They come on Wrestling for the Culture to discuss the BRP 50. And the show just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year, right? In 2020, it was Math, Cal, and Fam. 2021, they said, "Hey, Brian H. Waters, we got a white son. Drip, say hello to your grandfather. Is he the grandfather of this?" And they brought in Drip. And then this year, Mimi was brought to the show, but she wasn't able to make it. So they brought on We Love Wrestling's own Trey D. So shout out to Trey D. Shout out to everybody who put that list together. I want to make sure I give them their flowers and applause because it's hard work. It's hard work. So and I appreciate what they do. Putting the Wrestling Realm on with their platform. I've been on their show a couple times. Also, just the opportunity to really get a chance to talk wrestling. And so when I see the clip, I'm like, okay, yeah, my friends can handle themselves. But I'm like, well, when you sit back and you look at everything that they've been doing, they've been, it's a lot of hard work. And you see somebody come on the platform or go on another platform and just rip the list without doing the proper research. That's the part where I'm like, all right, you just don't get it, and you just don't get it. I've been in circles where I've had the opportunity to sit there with a member of Black Wrestling and a wrestler or two who didn't make the list and see that healthy dialogue and that healthy conversation. And that's what they open to. That's all it takes. Shout out to them. This year they did a Twitter Spaces, and what they did was if you won, it was like $25 raffle, and if you could guess like who was like the top 5 or something like that, and I won. So shout out to them. And then I decided to donate that money to Mr. Perry's Wrestling Club. And also shout out to Mr. Perry. He just signed with For Your Wear, where so the wrestling club is going to have official merchandise. So shout out to him. I didn't get a chance to meet the wrestling club when I was in Brooklyn, but I was happy to get a chance to just because they see that they was on the bump. Like you saw the wrestling club on the bump. We all wish we had something like that as children. So he created this opportunity, and I said this on TWG Fan Club the other day. We as wrestling podcasters have an obligation now to make sure we, doing things the right way because we have those kids from the wrestling club looking up to people like us. They see that, oh, wait a minute, there's other jobs in wrestling besides being a wrestler. They can be a podcaster, they can be a producer, they can do all this cool stuff. So we have to make sure, we on our P's and Q's. And Mr. Perry's been here right on Break It Down. I mean, on Wrestling for the Culture this past summer. And so if you don't know who he is, make sure you get familiar because, like I said, he's doing a lot of great things. And it's really cool to see. Of course, y'all know I've been running clips all day. So, of course, you don't think I'm going to run a clip from that interview. You are freaking crazy. But, he's been doing a lot of good things and, proud to be able to, call him a good brother. And, he's a staple in this community. And, shout out to him. So as soon as this clip finished processing, I'm gonna go ahead and run it. So you can just get an idea. Make sure y'all check out that interview on the Wrestling Wrealm YouTube page, Wrestler for the Culture. Here's my interview with Mr. Perry earlier this past May.
We were watching Bianca versus Becky, Extreme Rules, and Sasha returned. And then they were like, dang, why is Sasha so vicious? And then I was like, oh, y'all want to see like vicious Sasha? Like, I'll show you this vicious Sasha. So I showed them when Sasha returned and attacked Natty and then attacked Becky. And then I was like, but I said, Sasha's not always been the vicious one. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah. I said, her best friend turned on her, like her real life best friend. And I said, let's watch it. So then we started watching clips from those SmackDowns that led up to the Hell in a Cell. So the kids were already like, they saw when Bayley turned on her after that tag match that they lost. And then when Bayley tried to break her neck with the chair. So like they had seen all those clips in the storylines that led to it. So when we watched the Hell in a Cell match, that's why they were just like exhausted by the end of it, because they were just like, they felt triumphant with her, but exhausted because it was just so much brutality for two friends. And they couldn't quite understand it. They were just like, why are they friends if they're beating each other? Like, you know, so it was like having to get them to separate reality versus the storyline, and then understanding why the storyline progressed the way that it did. But they really enjoyed that match.
Yeah, so shout out to Mr. Perry. Make sure y'all check out that full interview. Also support the Wrestling Fan Club. So he is, guess what, y'all? He's taking the kids to WrestleMania in Hollywood. God bless him. He's taking kids to WrestleMania in Hollywood. Ooh, but also, you know, and hopefully he can make it an annual thing. We're gonna speak that in existence. Mr. Perry will take the Wrestling Club to WrestleMania every year. So shout out to him. Make sure y'all support him, support his content. And yeah, before we get out of here, I'm gonna go ahead and discuss a question. Um, discuss a question that I posted on Twitter. And you know, I was just driving and just had a thought. So I tweeted at 7:52 in the morning. How many wrestling shows have you been to this year? And it's met with a lot of responses. I think the most somebody has been to is about 50. I think the thing that's really cool about it is seeing people who work in wrestling. Uh, you know, like, you know, I ain't gonna go through names, but you know, somebody said 45 by the end of the year. So you got, you know, you see your fans, you see people who work in wrestling, you see, you know, so it's just to show you like how many people, how much people love this business. So I didn't respond to none of mine on here because I said, you know what, you will get it on the show. And so my shows this year, if you count WrestleMania as one show or two shows, it changes the number for obvious reasons, but we'll count it as two shows because I walked through the building twice. So I don't have a drum roll, but the number of total wrestling shows I've been to this year is 16. It started off at Fight Club in February back in DC. There we saw lots of great. This is the first time I've honestly been to a black indie show, and you know, just seeing people like Moses and you know Big Swole, Trisha Dore. Big Swole Trisha Dore was the main event for the Pan African Championship. It's so much talent. That was fun. Then it was MCW the same night as like one of the Celeb Fests. Uh, that was a solid show. WrestleMania night 1, night 2, Raw after Mania, AEW Dynamite. I actually got to see the Hardy Boys and the Young Bucks. Wait, was that? Yeah, I think it was the Hardy Boys, and Young Bucks, something like that. But I got to see the Hardy Boys. Obviously Invictus Pro when I was the referee. Outbreak Pro Wrestling when Jay Bougie and them took on the takeover took on Pure Ignorance, and Jay Bougie and them stole a win and then looked at me. That was a different story though. But MCW this past July, got to see, well, I ain't gonna talk about that show. But SummerSlam this year, then Jobber Slam, Raw in DC, MCW Ladies Night, where Amber Rodriguez picked up the win in a tag match, Battle Club Pros anniversary a couple weeks ago. Then this past week at Extreme Rules and Raw, in the Barclays Center. So there was a lot of good shows. I actually saw Raw in 3 different places, and none of them was Baltimore, DC, Dallas, and New York. So those are my shows, ladies and gentlemen. And so that'll wrap it up for this week's. I ain't gonna say this week's. This episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Episode 255. Wow. That's all I'm gonna say. Wow, like how in the world did that happen? But nonetheless, okay, episode 254. But we are on the road to 500 episodes total of the Wrestling Realm. And so I'm really excited about that. And make sure y'all tune in because we're gonna do something big. I'm gonna make sure it takes place on the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. So if I do like 8 episodes over the weekend to rush to get there, don't be surprised. I won't. I can promise you that. But till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get notified every time the Wrestling Realm posts new content.